I always thought gummy bears were an incredibly mediocre type of candy. They would seem like the type of candy to kidnap a bison man. Burrito Bison, a staple of the long-forgotten genre of launchers. Launchers were basically only ever made inside Flash, so when Flash died, the genre died with it. Which is quite a shame. If you play a bunch of launchers in release order, you can see the genre improve game by game. The bison alongside a penguin were made near the genre's peak, but I felt like if launchers didn't die, the bison and the penguin could have been seen as crucial midpoints instead of endpoints. Burrito Bison is still active. Kind of. There's a fairly popular mobile game and it seems to be the main source of revenue for Juicy Beast, but that's for later. The first game does the setup. Candyland kidnaps Burrito Bison, who is either a luchador in a bison mask or an actual bison man. I'm not sure. There's one thing that makes Bison stand out among launchers. It's one of the few in the genre with a height limit, and staying low is expected. The Bison doesn't want to maintain too much airtime, cause he isn't here to fly, he's here to kill gummy bears. If you manage to get high enough to touch the clouds will send you back down in a cotton candy comet, splattering a bunch of gummies and giving you a speed boost. Reaching high altitudes just gives you more horizontal speed. You control Bison with rocket slams, either to avoid hitting a cop or to target one of these special gummies. Special gummies are core to this game. They're your main way to increase speed, and each one has a separate minigame. So is he chewing bubblegum or are these his lungs? Some specials are strong enough to send you to the clouds by themselves. You should use slams to aim for them, but that gets hard during endgame because of high speeds and not being able to look at the ground. In the early game, it's also hard to aim with rockets if you don't have any. In both cases, things are kind of in the hands of RNG. It's in the mid-game where you have the most amount of control. It's the bell curve meme. That being said, who cares? Luck is part of the fun. RNG in games is fine. It's only in competitive settings where it becomes an issue. The variance here is never too bad. I mean, you can land on like 4 cops in a row or combo 5 specials into each other, but those are acceptable peaks and valleys. I wonder what flavor a cop gummy would be. You only need one slightly lucky hit to recover yourself. In this case, the luck of the launch is just testing how adaptable you are in a pinch. Luck is undoubtedly a factor, but you never feel like you're reliant on it. Maybe one of the reasons why is because the setting is inherently silly. Bison Man gets kidnapped into Candyland and breaks his way out. This sounds like the type of game where things may be random. I love the game's theming. The stadium made out of gumdrops and gingerbread, cake houses and apartment buildings with frosting and lollipops, the mountains made of ice cream and donuts scattered on hills. It's great. I wish more settings would have us beating the shit out of a very colorful and whimsical place. The progression system is pretty good as well. It's all slow and steady growth. There aren't any moments where you get a burst of power. You lose less speed on gummy contact, your initial launch is a bit stronger, or you get more money per kill. Slight increases that add up over time. Each individual upgrade is just strong enough to feel impactful. The first game is a fun little romp. It's honestly shorter than I remembered. Each area is gated behind a big door, and you only need to break through 3 of them to win. I swear I remember there being more, but I just might be confusing Burrito Bison with its much longer and more expansive sequel. Burrito Bison 2. There's a lot more to do here. We've been recontextualized as the dominant in our relationship with Candyland. They did not kidnap us this time. We came back to beat them up, and they are running scared. Also, they stole our wallets and we need to pay for groceries. When we end a run by landing on a cop, instead of being beat up and sent back in a police van, we now just beat the cop up. The stadium looks like a war zone, and we get a whole new set of special gummies cause the last one died. Some of them have elements of previous ones, but they all feel unique cause you smack around a gummy bear that has a different visual gimmick. Alongside the new set of specials and standard character upgrades, you can now upscale your opponents. You need to beat the previous guy first, and the launch minigames will get harder, but you get more money and more launch strength, so it's basically mandatory. There's a cookie with a mustache, a big gummy bear dog, cyborg jawbreaker, and the publisher's logo. Putting Berserk Man aside, you ever wonder how Candyland society works with the gummy bears seemingly being an ultra majority of the population? Like other candy species clearly exist. Looking ahead a game, there's a chocolate bunny, an ice cream man, and a big nerd. Nerds aren't even a type of candy, it's a specific brand. How does the ice cream man connect to this tundra area? Are we just in Gummy country? And each one of these confectionery species do have their own nation states. We just haven't seen them yet. Anyway, once we get certain achievements, we get some pixie buddies that gives us buffs. They're based around staples of Mexican food, because we are a luchador that may or may not be a bison minotaur. The UI has more detail to it. We see distance traveled and the upcoming doors on the bottom bar. Our speed meter is now on a dial instead of underwear, and we have a better idea of our limit. Other stats might show up for certain quests. We now have quests. They give a stack of cash and something to do mid-run besides just getting further than before. You can only ever have 3 active at once. This can be strangely annoying. Certain quests can get specific, require multiple launches, or have luck-based conditions. It doesn't feel that good when 2 out of 3 missions are kind of dead and number 3 is slow to progress. They must have known this, cause you can just pay in-game cash to skip missions. Very suboptimal, but at times it's the best option. The missions are awkward because of this. Everything else is quite polished. The pace of progression in story mode is well done. The beginning feels a bit faster than before. Lower levels of each upgrade are given to you quicker. The mid-game keeps with that pace. The individual launches feel more chaotic and frantic. It gives the feeling of a giant tavern brawl, but blood is in a lot more colors besides red. You eventually get to the end of Candyland and get back your wallet. You unlock survival mode and you start endgame. The upgrades get very expensive at this point and things start to slow down. Late game is optional and feels a bit padded. They also maybe wanted you to spend a little bit of real money in the shop, who knows. Oh hey, that's relevant for the next game. Burrito Bison Launcha Libre, made many years after the other two. The most notable difference? It's now a full-blown mobile game. This comes with one major negative, but otherwise, the game is honestly still pretty good. The art style has been remade. While it's different and feels a little bit more phone-coded, I guess, I still find it charming. A big addition is 2 new luchadors, Pineapple Lady and Chicken Man. Both have a different rocket slam compared to Bison. Pineapple Lady uses a grappling hook and will home into the highest value Gummy. This makes her the best for grabbing specials, but she has the smallest landing area of the group and has a hard time reaching the clouds. Chicken Man's rockets briefly makes him fly upwards and suspends him in the air. It is way easier to reach the clouds on him, but aiming for special gummies is awkward with this movement. The Bison himself also got a quirk. Alongside having the largest landing area, because of his sheer muscle mass, landing from that high will act like you rocket slammed into the ground. You honestly get the most distance with Bison. The height requirement is quite easy to reach. Chicken Man needs some upgrades to be able to consistently touch the clouds. Pineapple Lady negates the luck of landing on special gummies, but she's the most reliant on specials and sometimes they just won't appear. But once you invest enough cash into them, they will spawn frequently enough that Pineapple Lady becomes the de facto best luchador. There's a timer mode which is attached to some aspects of progression. If you run out of time, you slam into a giant clock. You gain time by perfecting special gummy minigames. Pineapple Lady is miles ahead of the other two here. She's designed around being a heat-seeking missile. She's obviously going to be the best. There's some gameplay differences from Burrito Bison 1 and 2. Unless you're a chicken, it's way harder to get to the skies, but the sky attack is stronger to compensate. You can now directly transfer to a different special gummy if you hit them while in the middle of a minigame. In the previous 2 games, you would have just killed them. You don't just unlock new opponents and be done with it. Every new wrestler is added to a rogues gallery, and they have HP bars now. Launches are no longer spinners, but rather a slingshot minigame where you can get a crit. If a launch knocks them down to 0, you get a stack of cash and a bigger launch. Once all opponents are knocked out, the gallery is reset. Wrestlers now have individual upgrade tiers where you increase every stat in what I just described. Doors aren't alone. They have increasingly thicker zones of cake as padding. Oh damn it, thicker zones of cake sounds like a sexual statement because of modern slang. The cake you eat through in one launch stays gone in the next, so you have a consistent thing to progress through in each door. It's a neat concept, but it does feel a bit like padding, which can kind of describe a good chunk of the game. It is a mobile game. I'm playing on Flashpoint, so I can't spend real money and no ads show up, but the pop-ups telling me to buy stuff are still here. There's a very prominent loot box system. You can only get the food buddies that give massive buffs through these cards. The most annoying thing is, you can't bank them. They are randomly given and automatically used each time. The progression has shifted to heavily resemble the systems you see in idle games. Each upgrade level increases in price on a near logarithmic scale. The gummies in each area also increase in loot, but not at the same pace. The further you get, the more you have to grind. And that's its main issue. Progress is way too slow moving because they want you to purchase things that'll speed up progression. Like, it's still quite a fun game, and this type of stuff is not unique to it at all. Most mobile games are like this, except here, the game's actually good. I just feel like the pacing was designed with a couple of in-app purchases in mind. Like, they have good ideas for long-term progression, but they're put on top of a lot of grinding. The main premise is that the gummies stole your recipe book. Once you beat the gummy chef that stole it, it's ripped into pieces and flung into a portal. You unlock a portal bag and you use it to travel through infinitely scaling lands and gummies. Each time you get to warp space, you get a new fragment of the book. Spend fragments on uniquely strong upgrades, or spend them on recipes. I thought the recipes also gave buffs, but they just didn't tell you what. Turns out they're actual recipes. I got absolutely bamboozled. Each warp zone you reach increases your candy shard multiplier. Candy shards are your main currency in the game's long-term progression. Quests are very limited, and each quest gives these shards and cards as loot. Idle game resetting, also known as an ascension mechanic, is a major addition. You start over but keep some things and gain some buffs. Use time candy to increase the candy multiplier limit for exponential growth. Increase initial funds so you start way later into the game. Or increase the rate you get money to fix the pacing a bit. Honestly, I like this system. Idle games are a mixed bag, but the progression here does integrate better than you would expect with the gameplay. The fact that you can start with like $1 trillion does alleviate some repetition issues. Then again, the padding kind of cancels that out. It takes a while before you feel like your money spent had any meaningful impact. Parts of it just feel slower than it really needs to be. I don't blame the devs for monetizing their game this way, cause it's actually less aggressive than the average mobile game. Burrito Bison 3 basically saved the studio. From like 2014 to 2016, Juicy Beast spent most of their time making an indie game called Toto Temple. It released on PC and all major consoles and flopped pretty hard for 2 years of work. It sold less than 10k units. They basically went into panic mode, made Launcha Libre, and released it on mobile. It has 10 million downloads on Google Play alone. Yeah, I think they're good. More than good, really. They're kind of coasting. They haven't made any new games or even blogs since 2017. They ported Nightmare Tower onto Steam last year, and that's about it. I know how much 10 million downloads can make. They are good. Alright, next is same genre but a different animal.